There's a time and a place for everything, so why not bring the man that's known for being a track rat, the most experienced driver in the lineup, the Wisconsin Stig with the blonde hair, to USAir, where he's not running his favorite tire in the whole wide world. Oh, no. He's not running the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. We got him to unbiasedly review the Continental ExtremeContact Sport 02. Lars, what are your thoughts?
So far, so good. Let's see how they perform.
A man of few words. Let's get into it. So the biggest difference between the ExtremeContact Sport 02s and the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S comes down to a couple different things. Michelin is obviously a very high performance, very expensive tire. Continental, the ExtremeContact Sport 02s are actually 10 to 15% less, which is a ton of money when you consider how much these tires can cost on a 20-inch wheel. So with the comparison outside of just the cost, there's another thing to keep in mind. Continental has an insane extended warranty program on almost all their tires. The ExtremeContact Sport 02s actually have a 30,000 mile warranty, as well as I believe like a 60-day turnaround in terms of refund if you don't like the tires. It's not only that, there's a whole bunch more that I'm really excited to get behind the wheel with Lars, and I think he's ready. We gotta go. I think one of the biggest misconceptions people have when they're picking out tires is they lean like either one way fully or the other way fully, where it's like, I don't know, as long as it's a tire and it's in my size and it's cheap, it works. You have like that group. And then you've got the group that's like looking at every tiny detail of a tire to figure out which one works best for them, which I also not entirely sure is the right answer, because then you just get analysis paralysis. What is like the number one reason in your opinion you think somebody would want to pick up ExtremeContact Sport 02s?
I think a lot of people purchase tires that are frankly above their car's performance range or their own driver's skill range. So one of the reasons you might pick this up is just because it is really good value in comparison to the Michelin, Pilot Sport line. You don't need that, 9, 10 level of grip. 70, 80% is enough of that. You're getting more than that with these. So I think just driving in your means, there's a lot to be said for that. And then especially if you're not driving your car actively that often, there's no reason to spend the extra money on getting more expensive tires.
Yeah, and I think one of the good things here too is the ExtremeContact Continental, the Sport 02s, they get 30,000 mile warranty. It's got a return policy if you're not happy with them within like the first 2 or 3 months. I can't recall specifically, but you also get like roadside assistance. You get emergency response. You get all of these like little features where it's like you're not just buying the tire, you're buying like a suite of services that Continental also offers.
And I think it speaks to value again, because like personally, right, I drive my car to the track. I drive my car to Tennessee, for the Gallenberg show we just did. So if something goes wrong, it's nice to know that I'm covered, whether it's my car's warranty or my tire's warranty. That's all really important stuff. Very few people have the luxury of trailing their vehicles everywhere. So if it is your only car that you've modified for show and you want to play with it, it's just a nice thing to have.
And you get a whole bunch of sizes, you get a whole bunch of different widths. It's a very like well-supported tire lineup. The only thing I would say that I think you called out once, and it's almost, it's weird to say out loud, but it's true, where it's like, sometimes a tire is out of scope of what you're going to use it for, and like I have been the victim of that before, where it's not a bad idea to start with a tire that you need to learn to grow into, but if it's so far past where it's just protecting you from bad driving behaviors, it's not a good tire to pick up. And I would argue the PS4S can do that to you sometimes. It makes you think you're a better driver than you really are, because it's constantly catching you,
It certainly covers up a lot of bad habits. And I would say the same thing goes for other high performance, the race tires, so to speak. Like I see this on R888Rs. People run those just to run them because they look cool. Like you don't need those. You shouldn't be spending that much money on race tires that are going to last maybe 10,000 miles when it's in all reality it's a show car that you're driving casually. It's just not worth it.
Absolutely. The thing with Continental, and the reason that we really like it, and the reason why we constantly are comparing it to Michelin, one is because we run Michelin on a lot of our stuff, but we also run Continental on a lot of our stuff. And people always ask us, why would we choose one or another? Or they're picking up wheels and tires from Martini Works and they want to know which one to go with. And it's like, if you are in a position where you need a tire that can get the job done, that's still friendly on the pocketbook, the ExtremeContact Sport 02 or the DWS06 Plus, they're fantastic tires for what you are getting. And you get a lot of like UI benefits to it too. Like the tires have markings on when the tire needs to be replaced for different types of usage. You get, you know, this suite of services, things like that. Whereas I do think the Pilot Sport 4S is obviously still a very great tire, but you don't always get all of that with some of the things that Continental offers. So it really is a case-by-case scenario, but I think if you're going to be comparing two tires, those are the two that you'd probably compare. I don't think there's anything else in the market that would fight with an ExtremeContact Sport 02 price point, mileage, longevity, you know, all of that stuff.
No, and I think it's a really good point you bring up about the usability of them and the sizes especially, because it kind of speaks to Michelin was made to be a race tire. Like that's where their history is from, is racing. And Continental just feels very much catered towards, you know, regular people who want to have fun with their cars.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. When I ordered this set, I have really goofy tire sizes. And when we shot in the order form, they just had them. Like there's no fuss about it. With the Sport Cup 2 Connects back in the day, that was a mess. And I rubbed through them, like I wore them out really funny because they weren't supposed to be in my car. So I definitely think there's a lot of good to be said for that.
Soul chaser.
All right, so Lars, right off the cuff, is it 15% worse than a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S? Because dollar for dollar, that's how most people are gonna look at it.
Definitely not, definitely not. The Continentals performed shockingly well, to be honest. I'm used to Michelin, I've done a lot of laps on them, and the Continentals are not 15% worse by any stretch of the imagination. They're super grippy, they lean well, the sidewall movement's almost there, but again, that's high-end, high-performance stuff. Most people will never notice that in street driving. That's like track use only kind of thing. Once they heat up, they're super grippy. They seem to last very well. I check my tires after every session, so I'm thoroughly impressed.
What would you say is like the biggest thing that you noticed that you enjoyed about these tires?
They slide really well. So this track is new. I've never driven here before today. The surface is a little slippery, so inevitably we're sliding everywhere. And they're very consistent, especially the rear. It would kick out. I can just hold it and just let it collect itself again, and get on the brakes. So very consistent.
It's super important to keep in mind when we're talking about sliding. It's not in the essence of an uncontrolled slide, right? We're on a racetrack. We're driving a race car, I would argue. So when we're talking about it slipping out, it's because it's a cold track. We're trying to get the tires up to temp. When a tire is almost like when you can predict the tire movement, it's way different than an unpredictable tire, right?
Yeah, what we're talking about is oversteer and understeer, right, to get into the weeds of it. And the car naturally oversteers on a little track, a go-kart track that we're at with so much power, and it's cold out. So it's more about controlling it, and the tires are there to help you balance that. That's where the suspension, all that stuff comes into play. And the tires did phenomenal.
So let's say you're just a car that's, let's say it's a little bit of a show car. You want to take it to an autocross event every once in a while. Do you think these are worth investing in, or should they save and spend more money and get a PS4?
Absolutely. I think they're great for that everyday kind of use, cruising, some highway fun or autocross occasionally, stuff like that. I think they're phenomenal value.
Is there anything that you would say is probably one of the biggest differences between the two tires to keep in mind if you are more of like a track-oriented person?
Yeah, so I took these to Road America 3 weeks ago when I first put them on, and the two biggest differences I noticed were the noise. So they at high traction, at the limit of traction, they squeal before the Michelins would. And by that I mean they'll make noise and then there's more grip and then they lose grip. Where the Michelins will squeal right as they're losing grip. So that's a little something to get used to for me. And then the other one is heat cycles. So we'll see how the Continentals perform over time, but something that the Michelins do extremely well is continued track abuse. So by that I mean you could drive to the track, race it, drive it home, you know, for multiple track days. So we'll see how the Contis hold up to that.
Well, there you go. If you guys are looking to understand some more differences between the ExtremeContact Sport 02s and maybe a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, you can actually learn about it over at martiniworks.com. And if you are looking to build your car, mod your car at Martini Works. We'll see you guys later.